Hi, welcome to the Parramatta Business Chambers live event. We're currently with Energy 3 Group here on a Tuesday morning at Parramatta. My name is Michael Tang. I am the director of an independent mortgage broking business called Eagle Finance Group. We specialise in home loans, investment loans, and development loans. If you want to find out more, visit us on www.eaglefinancegroup.com.au. So today I've been asked to speak about work-life balance. Can I get a show of hands to see who here thinks they have a balanced work life? And who here doesn't think that they have a good work-life balance? Okay, thanks. So as you can see, work-life balance, it's different to the individual. In general, it's the balance between the time you spend at work and the time you spend at home or looking after yourself. Seek recently surveyed 3,000 people, and they found that work-life balance was the most important factor when it came to choosing a job. This was more important than job security or pay itself, which I find quite interesting. So you are your own judge at achieving work-life balance. One person's work-life balance may not be the same as another person's. So I came across two sort of examples that I wanted to talk about. And it's pretty much of two separate individuals. One from the 9-to-5 corporate employee, and the other is a digital marketing specialist, an entrepreneur based in the US. Before I started my job as a self-employed mortgage broker, I used to work for the big four banks. As I was looking around, I noticed some people would tend to come to work at 9 and leave at 5 on the dot. And the reasons being because they probably had dinner to cook for their family, or they had to spend some time with their kids. So to the corporate 9-to-5 individual, balanced work-life scenario is one where they can work from 9 to 5 and leave work after 5 and go home and not have to think about work. On the flip side, there's a gentleman that I follow quite religiously online. His name is Garry, or Garry V for short. I'm seeing a few nods here, so I think everyone's quite familiar with him. So, Gen-wise, he's a social media specialist. So he runs a digital marketing agency out in the States. So what they do as a business is they help advertise businesses and help them grow on social media. So he runs a business that has about over 100 employees. He generates about 150 mil per year. For him, work-life balance looks completely different to the 9-to-5 corporate employee that I was telling you about. For him, he gets up at 5 a.m., starts working every minute from there until 12 a.m. at night. So for him, and that's 7 days a week, he only really gets to see his family a few times a week. But when he was interviewed in a recent interview, he actually said that he finds that he does have good work-life balance. And the reason for that is because every time he's not at work and with his family, that family time is actually he's mindful and he's very present in that moment. So he shuts off computers, he shuts off work computers, he shuts off mobile phones, and he's there with conversation that's mentally stimulating with his partner and with his kids. So for that short period of time that he's with his family, he's entirely there. He's 100% there and not thinking about work. So that's the reason why Garry is able to be content with his sort of work-life balance, when I guess the rest of society would probably not see his sort of lifestyle as having a good balance. Time for some statistics. According to the OECD, working for 50 hours or more per week or 10 hours per day is considered working long hours. In Australia, 13% of employees, or 1 in 8, work very long hours, and this is in line with the OECD average. Now, this takes us to Japan. I'm sure some of you guys know about Japan and their very hard working culture. You've probably heard in the news recently about some mishaps that have been happening in Japan. Japan and their work-life balance is probably not so good. It's to the point where they even have their own terminology for overworking. It's called karoshi, and that translates to death by overworking. Yeah. According to a report produced by the Japanese government, employees in 1 of 4 companies in Japan are at risk of dying from overworking. So it's quite full on. So 2 examples from Japan. In 2013, a 31-year-old journalist working at Tokyo's news broadcasting company died from heart failure due to overworking. In 1 month, she worked on average 8 hours of overtime per day. So to put things in perspective, her overtime was a normal day in the office for an Australian employee. Example number 2 is in 2016, this one's a more recent example and probably one that you've heard, is a 24-year-old lady working at Japan's top advertising company called Dentsu jumped from her company's building because she was overworked. After this incident, the Japanese government tried to intervene and they introduced a policy where companies could allow employees to get off work at 3 p.m. on the last Friday of every month. But this hasn't proved to be very effective. I'm going to try something different here, and I've got a list of different things, 8 different things that I've gathered from a website online called Inc.com, and I just want you guys to have a think about, out of those 8 things that I've listed, which of those you guys tick off in terms of, and of course, the more that you tick off, then the more balanced your work life is supposed to be. So there's a simple rule that I read online and I strongly believe, and that is success in your personal life leads to success also in your work life. So if you're not successful in your personal life, then that could lead to troubles in your work life. So let's start off with number 1. Number 1 is, and the most important thing that I think personally as well, is exercise. 15 minutes a day of fun cardio is a good place to start. Not only does it help with chemicals in your brain, but it also helps with your body physically. And if you look good physically, then you feel good mentally as well. That's number 1. Number 2 is picking up a new hobby. Whether that be playing sport, learning an instrument, or learning a new language. So fun fact, Warren Buffett, I learned just yesterday, he plays the ukulele for fun as part of his work-life balance. Number 3 is finding a faith that works for you, whatever religion that may be. Number 4 is also something that I like to practice quite regularly, is meditation and practicing mindfulness. You've heard about it many times before. All the successful business people do that. They meditate on a daily basis, whether it be in the morning or right before they go to bed. Oprah Winfrey meditates 20 minutes twice a day. And she says, only from this space can you create your best work and your best life. So meditation is a great way to feel less anxious and allows you to react to things more appropriately. Number 5 is giving back to the community. As humans, I think we all know that giving back is a big part of why we're here, whatever your religion may be. I think helping humanity and people is a good way, I guess, selfishly to say, it does make you feel better. Number 6 is to meet with a mentor. So this might be someone that's a few years down the track in the chosen field that you've decided to work in. Benefits of meeting with them is that they can show you the way. They can show you the recipe of how to get to where they are in a sort of shorter time frame. Number 7 is date nights with the partner. So for Valentine's Day tomorrow, make sure you do make a booking for a restaurant and take your significant other out. If you don't have any bookings for tomorrow, then obviously you've got a very good work-life balance already. Number 8 is to spend quality time with your family. Mark Cuban spends Saturday mornings with his wife, his kids with babysitters. He then spends the rest of the weekend with his family, having dinner with them, and he tucks his kids in on the weekends. So doing a combination of these things that I've just listed protects you from anxiety, stress, and burnout. So can I get a show of hands out of all those 8 things? Can I see who have, I guess, 3 of the above? Oh, very nice. How about 5? We've got a few minutes. 6? Okay, so I think 5 is a lucky charm. I think 5 is a good balance because we're only human, so you can't be firing, in all cylinders for all sort of aspects of your life. So 5, I think, would be really good. So what to take it now to a more personal level, to see what it is that I what it is that I do to maintain a good work-life balance. So I've been running the business for about a year now, leaving the corporate life, having done that for about 5 years. And I realized that last year I spent probably on average 6 days a week working, as you do when you've just started the business and you're hungry and you want to make it successful. So during that time, I also did spend a lot of time at a CrossFit gym close to my house. So I would go to CrossFit about 4 to 5 times a week and train there for 1-hour sessions. It's a good community there, so you do really get to de-stress when you're working out at a CrossFit gym. The other thing that I try to do is I try to do social drinks on a Friday, catch up with a friend for lunch or dinner once a week. And I've started to realize now that I'm self-employed that probably the best thing for me personally is when I get a small group of friends together, probably about 5 people, and we pretty much just have dinner and we catch up extensively. The day after that, I feel fantastic, and the energy, pun intended, sort of moves on for the rest of the week. Another thing, before I sort of close off, is I find that swimming is also very good, and that's my personal experience. When you swim, there are only really 2 things that you can focus on, and that's your strokes or your breath, right? If you start thinking about work or anything apart from those 2 things, then that's when you start to choke or lose breath or momentum. So I find that after swimming for about an hour, focusing on just those 2 things, it really helps. After an hour of swimming, your head really clears, and you feel quite light afterwards. So as mentioned earlier, work-life balance is different for everyone. So you really need to experiment and find what works for you. Naturally, you'll know what works and what doesn't work. Your body and mind will let you know if you're working too hard. So those are the signs that you should spend time on things that I listed earlier. Thank you. And also, if you're interested in coming to the Energy 3 meetings on a Tuesday at 10 a.m., you're more than welcome to come next week and thereafter.